$42,000, that is a real number a veteran recovered after reading one page inside his own claims file, not from a new condition, from a date the rating already had wrong. And here is the part I am going to make you wait for. There is one document in that file, smaller than a parking ticket, that quietly decides whether the answer is 42,000 or nothing.
Hey everyone, Chris here. The file is called Your C File. It is every decision, every exam, every record the VA holds on your claim in one stack, and you can ask for it for free.
Hi all, I'm Cynthia, and you do not need a lawyer to get this, which is the first thing people assume. It is your own record, so you have a legal right to a copy, and the request is one signed page. No fee, no attorney, no permission required.
Today we go deeper into one move almost nobody makes. Not how to file faster, how to pull the file you already have and read it the way the VA reads it.
And here is the quiet thing nobody says out loud. Most veterans request this file exactly 0 times. They trust the rating letter and move on. That is the mistake we are fixing.
This is Elena, and I think in worst cases, so picture this one. The decision letter says you are rated, but it never says whether the start date is right. When that date is wrong, the letter looks perfectly fine, and you still quietly lose money every single month.
Which is why the boring document wins. The code sheet inside this file lists every condition, its code, and its effective date. One wrong date on that sheet is money the VA already owes and never volunteered.
So here is the whole path we are walking today, start to finish, so you know exactly where this goes.
First, you request the file, then you read the 5 documents that matter, then you check the one line on the code sheet, then you add up what a wrong date is worth, and then you decide who pulls it for you.
Cynthia, you read the comments more than any of us. What is the question people keep asking under these videos?
Yes, and it is always the same one. They write, how do I actually get my C file and how long does it take? So let us answer exactly that in order.
Perfect question to build on, Cynthia. So let us start at the very front of that path. The form, the one box, and the signature that gets your whole file moving.
Alright, the how-to and counting it out is the whole job. There is exactly one form. Step 1 is the form, Step 2 is the box, Step 3 is the handwritten signature. That is the entire process.
The form is VA Form 20, 10,206. Its official name is the Freedom of Information Act or Privacy Act request. Same one form, 2 laws on it, and it covers your full file.
There is one exact spot people get wrong, and it is a single box. So here is the part of the form that matters. On page 3, there is a section for compensation and pension records. The very first checkbox there says Claims File, C File. Check that one box and you have asked for the whole stack, not a single letter.
Here is where it breaks, and I want you to plan for it. The form needs a real handwritten signature. A typed name gets the request bounced back, and a faxed copy that is too faint to read gets bounced back too. Those are the 2 most common rejects.
Then you send it 3 possible ways. Online through the Quick Submit tool, by fax to the Evidence Intake Center, or by mail. Pick one, sign it by hand, done before the weekend.
One more failure to plan for, because this is where requests stall. The form needs to identify you cleanly. Your full name, your date of birth, your place of birth, and either your VA file number or the last 4 of your Social Security number. Leave one of those blank and it can sit in a pile.
I will push on the rosy version though. People hear free and easy and picture next day delivery. Cynthia, tell them the real clock.
Fair. A civilian request, just you and the form, generally runs about 12 to 18 weeks, and in a backlog it can stretch toward a year. It is weeks, not years, but it is not overnight. We will show you a faster lane at the end.
And if you would rather click than print, the VA has this online too. So here is the exact page and exactly where you land.
On va.gov, This is the Request Personal Records page for Form 20-10206. You sign in with a verified account, then you hit Start Your Request. Right there. No printer, no fax machine, no stamp.
Real quick, because this next part matters to you. If any of this is helping, tap that like button, then hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next one finds you. Both are free and take about a second, but they tell the algorithm to show this to one more person who needs it.
So the file arrives, and it can be hundreds of pages. Do not panic and do not read all of it. 5 documents do almost all the work. Chris, before we list them, you said it earlier, and I want the viewers to hear the question straight. Go ahead and ask it.
Yes, and it is the question I get most. Out of hundreds of pages, which single document is the one that actually holds the back pay?
I want to test this list against the worst case, where you only have 10 minutes before an appeal deadline. These 5 are the ones you grab first, in order. 1. The rating decision. That is the narrative, the part written in plain sentences that explains why each condition was granted, denied, or rated where it was.
2. The code sheet. This is the small one. It lists each condition, its diagnostic code, the percentage, and the effective date. This is the page with the money on it.
3. The C&P exam report and the DBQ that goes with it. Remember, that exam was never treatment. The VA itself says the examiner does not treat you, refer you, or prescribe anything. The whole point is evidence.
And that matters because the DBQ is the examiner's checklist for your specific condition. If your worst symptoms are not written on that form, the rater never saw them. The file shows you whether they made it onto the page.
4. Your service treatment records. That is the in-service proof, the link between the condition and your time in uniform. 5. Your DD-214 and any lay or buddy statements that filled the gaps.
And that 5th one matters more than people expect. Say your records never logged the ringing in your ears, but the buddy who stood next to you on the flight line wrote a statement that you both lost hearing that day. That statement may be the only bridge in the whole file. If it is missing, you will see the gap.
Let me poke a hole in that, Cynthia. If I only had time for one of these 5, why is it the boring code sheet and not the big narrative decision?
Because the narrative tells you the story, but the code sheet tells you the dollars. Skip the code sheet and you can read every word of your file and still walk right past the back pay. That is the trap.
So here is what each of those 5 is really for, stacked from the why down to the gaps.
Start at the top. The rating decision is the why, the code sheet is the dates and dollars, the exam and DBQ are the evidence, and your service records are the proof of connection.
And the bottom rung is the one everyone forgets, the statements that filled in what the records missed. Read those 5 and you have read your file the way the VA reads it.
So now we are on that one page, the code sheet, and I want to know exactly what a wrong number looks like. This is worth bringing in someone who reads these files all day. A viewer named Marcus wrote in asking how he would even know his effective date was wrong. So let me get someone on the line who can answer that cold. Professor Harlow, are you there?
I am here, glad to help. And Marcus is asking the exact right question because the effective date is the single most common thing veterans never check on their own sheet. Here is the simple version. The code sheet lists an effective date for each condition. Compare that date to the day you first told the VA you intended to file. If the sheet shows a later date than that, you may have lost months of back pay you were already owed.
Walk me through how it actually goes wrong, Professor Harlow. Not the happy path. Where does that date slip?
Often the date gets tied to the claim you formally completed, not the intent to file you submitted weeks earlier. When that earlier intent does not anchor it, the rating looks correct and the start date is quietly months late. The second thing I check is the diagnostic code itself. The same condition can be rated under more than one code, and if the VA used one that caps lower, you can be underrated for a reason that has nothing to do with how bad your condition is.
So a veteran is reading their own letter, feeling fine about it, and meanwhile the wrong number is sitting right there on a page they never opened.
Exactly, and to be clear, most code sheets are correct, so I am not telling anyone to assume fraud. I am telling you to verify, because the one time it is wrong, no one calls to tell you. The file is free, the date is on one line, and the difference is real money. Thanks for having me, and good luck to Marcus.
That is the line I wanted, and thank you. Do not assume the letter means the math was right. Read the date, read the code, then decide. Marcus, that is your answer, and it is the same one for everybody watching.
Let me make the dollars concrete, because this is where it stops being abstract. Picture a veteran we will call Boone, a Marine in his 20s, rated for his knees and his hearing. Boone pulls his C file, reads the code sheet, and finds his effective date is set a full year after the day he first filed his intent. His percentage is right, only the start date is wrong.
And the intent to file is the part people forget. When you tell the VA you mean to file, even before the full claim is done, that date can anchor your benefits. If your rating later gets granted, the money is supposed to reach back to that earlier day, not the day you finished the paperwork.
So the worst case is not that Boone loses the rating. It is that 12 months of checks he was already owed simply never got paid. Let me set up the math so you can see the size of it.
Let me build it slowly, one line at a time, so nobody feels lost. Say Boone sits at 100% for this example. For 2026, that monthly rate for a veteran with no dependents is $3,938.58. Now multiply that monthly rate by the 12 months the date was wrong.
And the total lands at $47,262.96. Same rating, same conditions, one wrong line on a code sheet. And that is the gap.
Now the honest caveat, because I am not going to let the number do all the talking. That is an example at 100%. At 30%, the monthly rate is $552, so the same 12-month error is smaller. The size depends on your rate.
Right, but the move is the same at every rating. You found the wrong date, so here is your one rep. You file a supplemental claim to correct the effective date, and you are not redoing your whole case, you are fixing one line.
And because the rating itself is not in question, you are not inviting a new exam or risking what you already have. You are simply asking them to honor the date the evidence already supports.
Here is the real fork, and it is worth arguing out loud, because the two of you land in genuinely different places. The question is simple: should a veteran request this file themselves, or bring in an accredited representative to pull it and read it? Chris thinks most people should just do it themselves. Elena keeps pointing at the cases where that goes sideways. Chris, make your case first.
The file is yours and the form is free. You sign one page and you send it, and it costs you nothing but a stamp. For a clean situation, that is the rep I assign, because you also learn your own case while you wait, and that knowledge pays off on every claim you ever file after this one.
And in a clean case, I agree with you, but I plan for where it breaks. The civilian request runs 12 to 18 weeks, sometimes longer in a backlog. If you are staring at an appeal deadline, that wait can swallow your whole window.
Okay, so what is the faster road when the clock is the problem?
There is a lane for exactly that case. An accredited representative, a VSO, or an accredited claims agent or attorney can view your file through the VA's own system, called VBMS. That is days, not months. And when the clock is the enemy, that speed is the whole game.
Hold on, that only helps people who already have a rep appointed?
Fair hit, so let me sharpen the line. The deciding factor is the deadline. No deadline. Do it yourself and keep it simple. Deadline looming, get a VSO appointed today because their VBM access turns weeks into days.
And here is the part that closes the gap between us. A VSO is free. So this is not really do-it-yourself versus pay someone. It is do-it-yourself versus a free helper who happens to be faster.
So here is what I would do, and the sources point one way. With time and a clean case, request it yourself because it is free and you learn your file. Near any deadline, my recommendation is get a VA-accredited VSO appointed now because their VBM's access pulls the file in days instead of weeks.
I can live with that call. The deadline decides the lane, and either way the file gets pulled.
Either road ends in the same place, with the file in your hands, the code sheet open, and the date checked. Everything in this episode is a rung 3 move on the claim ladder, and rung 3 is prove, where you make the record show the truth. The one idea to carry out of here is simple. Nobody guards your back pay but you. So here's what we covered. Your C file is free, and inside it one code sheet decides whether the VA owes you back pay. The whole game is requesting it and reading that one line.
So here is your move tonight, and it takes 10 minutes. Open VA Form 20 10206, check the claims file box, and sign it by hand. That one signed page is the difference between guessing and knowing what you are owed.
Next time, wait until you see the one piece of math that fools almost everybody, where two conditions that add up to 70 on paper somehow leave you stuck at 50.
If reading your own file just saved you a guess, hit like and subscribe so we can keep building the VA benefits series for you.
And before you go, the one only you can answer. When you finally pull your code sheet, does the effective date match the day you first filed your intent? Tell us in the comments what you find.
The consensus is loudest where it is weakest. Check it. See you next time.